Beer here back at the Fantasy Bar. Week 14 is here. We are back with 6 of my favorite plays ready for you to go on FanDuel and DraftKings, including some of my favorite value plays, some guys I think are underpriced in good matchups, and one team specifically I am loading up on that you probably don't expect. Who we talking about? Only one way to find out. It's time to belly up to the Fantasy Bar. Welcome in, guys. Week 14 edition Beers Daily Fantasy six-pack season. Cruising right along. We are back with 6 of my favorite plays for you on FanDuel and DraftKings. Thank you, as always, for stopping by the Fantasy Bar and checking out this week's video. Before we get to the plays, let's knock out the housekeeping. First thing, most important thing, you guys have been doing a great job with this. Thumbs up button. Take a second if you enjoy the content, you like hanging out in the Fantasy Bar, you're here to troll me, whatever it may be. Take a second, click that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and check out our props and pick'em package. This has absolutely been crushing it. If you're into sports betting, you're into props, go and check that out. That link in the description of the video. The guys have been absolutely on fire. Props and pick'em package. Go and check it out today. All right, let's get in to the plays of this week 14 slate. Let's start at the running back position with Chuba Hubbard of Carolina. So new coach, and I don't know if they're going to be splitting the workload much anymore between him and Miles Sanders. It was very clear that Hubbard is the preferred option. 25 carries in the game last week, and the Panthers have really gone more run heavy over the last couple of weeks, throwing it less, running it more, which is good news here for Chuba Hubbard. 3 touchdowns over the last 2 games, averaging almost 23 DraftKings points per game. Now, New Orleans, generally one of those teams we don't like to pick on a whole lot. They've been a pretty good defense over the past couple seasons, but this year, especially recently, really been struggling against opposing ground games. In fact, giving up almost 150 rushing yards per game over their last 7. So a decent-sized sample here. I think Hubbard gets another big workload here. I think we see an uptick in his passing involvement. I think the salary just way too low on Chuba Hubbard. All right, next, more value at wide receiver with Elijah Moore of Cleveland. Now, guys, find somebody that loves you as much as Joe Flacco loves throwing the ball to Elijah Moore. 12 targets last week, and this dates back to their time with the Jets. About the only good games Elijah Moore has really had as a pro have come with Joe Flacco. Turn that into 83 receiving yards. And we also have number 1 receiver Amari Cooper in the concussion protocol. So even if Amari's able to clear that protocol, I still like Elijah Moore. If he's out, lock and load, slam dunk play here for Elijah Moore. Jacksonville, 7th most DraftKings points allowed to the wide receiver position. Trevor Lawrence, very unlikely to play here, so I think we get a close competitive game here. And I don't think 10 plus targets out of the range of possibilities here. Potentially over 100 yards here for Elijah Moore. All right, let's go to running back position next with Joe Mixon of Cincinnati. Now, big time workload here for Joe Mixon, and it's on the ground and in the passing game. And that's even with the involvement we saw out of the rookie Chase Brown, very involved in the attack, but Mixon still getting a ton of work and a ton of work in the passing game. Season highs with 7 targets, 6 receptions in Jake Browning's big game here. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon. So a guy on the ground, guy through the air, and a matchup that we can target. Indianapolis, bottom 5 in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. In fact, they've been up the 2nd most rushing touchdowns in all of football, only behind the Carolina Panthers. And fantasy points, they are bottom 5 as well. Great spot here for Joe Mixon against the Indianapolis Colts. All right, tight end up next. We are rolling with Cole Kmet of the Bears. So targets galore here for Cole Kmet. No, he's not going to get you the same level of targets that maybe a Kelsey, guys like that do, but 7 or more targets now in 4 of his last 5 games. And we've seen it a few times this season, 20 or more point upside out of him. And I think he goes overlooked. I think we get a low-owned option here that gives us upside. Detroit, 3rd most receiving touchdowns allowed to this position, and bottom half of the league in fantasy points allowed to the tight end position as well. So a lot of studs at the tight end position on this slate. I think people were sleeping on Cole Kmet, my favorite value at the tight end position. All right, let's pair up Cole Kmet with his quarterback. We are rolling with Justin Fields. So quarterback, same thing. We got some high-end guys on this slate. We are missing a few of the higher-end guys, but anytime Fields takes the field, pun intended, really like the upside that he gives us, and I love the matchup here with the Detroit Lions, who have really struggled containing this guy. We're talking almost 30 DraftKings points per game over his last 3 against Detroit. One of those over 40 DraftKings points. Lions, 4th most fantasy points allowed to this position, 5th most touchdown passes allowed, and rushing yards. Really the key here for Justin Fields. No team in the entire NFL has allowed more rushing yards to the quarterback position than the Detroit Lions. Justin Fields, slam dunk for me this week against the Detroit Lions. All right, it's time. Take a look at my favorite play for week 14. Before we do that, let's run it back on our Beast of the Week contest. Easy to play, free to play, and a thank you to you guys for all your support here in the Fantasy Bar. Click that thumbs up button and head to the comment section and guess fantasy points on DraftKings for my Beast of the Week. Whoever's got the closest guess, we're going to give you an absolutely free month of RotoGrinders Premium just for hanging out here in the Fantasy Bar. All right, let's wrap it up with my favorite play for week 14. You know, Matt's the Beast of the Week. All right, Beast time. We owe you one more wide receiver, and we are going to go all in on Chicago here with the double stack. We are rolling with DJ Moore, this week's Beast of the Week. Now, we'll be keeping a close eye on the weather there in Chicago, but if it is good to go, then I am rolling with the Chicago Bears. Moore, obviously, the top option in this passing game. 4 games already this year of over 22 DraftKings points, 7 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown in his last game against the Detroit Lions. And we keep mentioning how bad this Detroit defense has been. Not good against wide receivers either. 3rd most receiving touchdowns allowed, 14 already this season, and the 9th most fantasy points allowed to this position. Fields and Moore have looked great together, can run this stack back with many options on the Detroit side. I'll leave that part up to you guys. Loving the Bears this weekend. Taking a stand here, DJ Moore. Easily my favorite play on the board in this week's Beast of the Week. All right, guys, that'll do it for week 14 here in the Fantasy Bar. As always, any comments, questions, or feedback, hit me up in that comment section right below the video. Don't forget, fantasy points for DJ Moore on DraftKings for your shot at a free month of RotoGrinders Premium NFL. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Pints and Picks with 2 of my favorite NFL bets will be out sometime tomorrow. And check us out over on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio every Sunday night, 6 to 9 Eastern. Eric Feinfort, STL Cardinals, and myself hanging out, talking about the games, live look-in. Show is a ton of fun. Go and check that out. SiriusXM, 6 to 9 Eastern every Sunday night. Thank you for watching. Best of luck this weekend, and we will see you.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist